Hey guys, coming at you with another installment of We Can Solve This, and I am out walking and talking into my phone like a lunatic and carrying a piece of paper around, which I'll be reading off because this is an important enough subject. I just don't want to muck it up. So I've got some notes, and walking helps me think. So we're going to be talking about anger. This is a real problem. It's really misunderstood. And so just trying to bring some light to this dark place. It's a terrible affliction. It lands on all of us. It can take us over, control us, master us. And once you conquer it once, it comes back. And it never goes away. If you are a human being, you are going to experience this emotion. And this emotion has been given to you as a guide. If you didn't have it, that could be a problem. You know, if you got it cranked up to 10, so to speak, you might be pretty violent with the use of this emotion. But if you really had it at 0 and people cross your boundaries, take advantage of you, that sort of thing, and no alarm bells go off inside you, that's maybe, you could say, arguably equally a problem. So it's a necessary emotion, it's a guide. The first place I wanted to start is something that's, I feel like, just helped me the most, so I'm just sharing it. It never really resonated with me when I'm upset to go count to 10. I get it, but just didn't click with me. The idea of going and taking 10 deep breaths, you know, it's like you can't have a slow heart rate and be angry at the same time. Maybe, but when I'm angry, I don't want to do that. It just doesn't work for me. So the biggest thing that's worked for me is simply making a decision about who I am, who I want to be, how I want my relationships to be. And I don't want to be that guy that's out of control in those situations. So when that feeling comes up for me, I've made a commitment to myself, to the people I love, people in my life, that there will be an expression of anger. We'll get to that. But I'm going to do everything within my power to not have this feeling take over and get the wheel and get the keys to the car and just drive me around. So, making a decision. Some education. I think it's important to remember, or to learn, to discover. It's one way to think of it. It's a model. You could take a hand and talk about the neocortex as being your fingers. And the neocortex, to super simplify it, I don't understand brain science, but apparently that's where your high-level decision-making is happening. That's where your impulse control is happening. And when you're angry, or angry enough, like, that part of the brain goes offline. And so beneath the fingers and the hand model is the limbic system, this emotional center of the brain. And when that's operating, another word for that's your lizard brain. You know, you're thinking about food, survival, kill, sex, just these really basic things. So when you're super angry, that's the part of your brain that's online, and the part that makes thoughtful decisions that weigh into account your future, the fact that you care about the person you're arguing with. This part's offline. The third part in that model is your brain stem. So thank God that's working all the time. But so just to know that that's how your brain's operating at those times really helps me know I've got to stop. I've got to pause. I've got to pray. I've got to get away from the situation and allow my neocortex to come back online. And that comes from a calm state of mind. Then I can make good decisions. You never want to make decisions in I'm not even just an angry state of mind, but an emotional state of mind. You want to be in a calm state of mind when you're making decisions for yourself, for your future. So, something to think about. If you haven't heard of this, I found this very helpful. The iceberg model of anger. And the idea with this is that anger is a secondary emotion. That the tip of the iceberg, 10% sticking out of the water, that's anger. That's the alarm bells. That's the warm rage, aggression, these feelings. It's alarm bells. But 90% of the 90% of that iceberg is what's the primary emotion. And I made a list here. So it could be beyond this list, but I wrote down fear, humiliation, shame, regret, sadness. All these things could be sponsoring that anger. So I think just knowing this gives me pause, helps me calm down and become more analytical about why am I really angry in this situation? Am I afraid this person's going to take something from me? And try to analyze what's going on. And if I can get down to that, now I've got a problem to solve. Okay, I'm afraid this person's going to take X from me. And then you got to solve that problem. But at least you've gotten to the problem. So those other things I threw out there, the bottom part of the iceberg, I will definitely touch on in other videos. So hopefully if that's resonating with you, you can click on another video to solve that problem. Sometimes you got to dig to get down to what it is. And then lastly, I just want to touch on exercise. Anger does come with energy. It's meant to give you energy to run away from a predator or to attack. And in this modern world, sometimes that's not so helpful. So maybe you got to go run a few miles. Maybe you got to go do push-ups until you can't do any more push-ups. And maybe after that aggressive energy has been released, maybe you can start to then process and think it through and really solve the problem. But if you just leave it at that, if you just say, I'm angry and I'm going to go do a bunch of exercises, you will be physically tired, but you will not have solved anything. Elanya Van Sant, I think that's her name. She had a show, a pop psychology show on BET, and this woman's awesome. And one of the things she would say is, feelings buried alive never die. They might show up as psychosomatic symptoms, headaches, stomach aches, cancer. They might come out sideways and behavioral outbursts or rude comments, but those feelings suppressed, they're not going anywhere. The late great Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, he said, whatever's mentionable is manageable. So if you can kind of figure out what's going on and then maybe talk to somebody you trust, somebody you respect, maybe then you can begin to not just get over this feeling, get away from this feeling, but maybe transform this energy, this angry energy. Maybe transform it into some action you need to take. Maybe there's a conversation you have been putting off and you need to have it, and that's at the bottom of it. I don't know, but this way of looking at anger and dealing with anger has really served me well, and I wanted to share it with you guys.